My name is Isa Arandia, and this is my signature assignment presentation on politics and disgust for EDP 310, Understanding the Brain. So how is disgust related to political identities? At first, physiological variation, kind of like disgust sensitivity having a significant relation to political identities may seem improbable, but it is true that some traits of the human autonomic and central nervous systems are encoded in DNA, and they're likely to affect how people perceive and respond to their surroundings, which includes our political environment. According to a study by neuroscientist Reid Montague, people who are more disgusted by gross images such as feces, dead bodies, insects on food, and things like that are also more likely to be politically conservative. Actually, one reaction to one gross image can predict scores on political ideology tests with 95% accuracy. And continuing on this, it is becoming more widely accepted that disgust is a major factor in the creation and upkeep of social and political attitudes. It has been demonstrated that disgust sensitivity and reactivity are related to political conservatism in general and are associated with unfavorable attitudes towards a variety of social others, especially queer people, brown and black people, and poor people. Some have proposed a direct link between conservative views concerning social, moral, and sexual purity and disgust. Billingsley et al. 2018 conducted a study on sexual disgust to predict the voter outcome of the 2016 United States presidential election. So they had three factors: sexual disgust, pathogen disgust, and moral disgust. So sexual is aversion to forms of sexual behavior. Pathogen is aversion to spoiled food, diseases, anything that could potentially make you sick. And moral disgust is aversion to the violation of social norms. So, controlling for pathogen and moral disgust, sexual disgust. Sexual disgust continued to predict a wide range of outcomes. Voting for Trump instead of Clinton was influenced only by sexual disgust out of the three domains. The only factor that predicted a social political orientations measured on a 7-point scale, 1 to 7, was linked to the likelihood of joining the Republican Party as opposed to the Democratic or Libertarian one, was sexual disgust. The current findings imply that sexual disgust has the power to significantly impact individual political positions, thereby influencing two of the most important political outcomes in our society: our choice of president and our political party. Most people are reluctant to admit that subconscious predispositions have any influence at all in shaping their political orientations because they're proud of them and they see them as reasonable reactions to the world around them. Particularly in the United States, where patriotism is strong, many find it difficult to accept the fact that involuntary physiological responses can play a part in political identities. And why do I care? So I am a queer person living in the United States, and though we have many rights and privileges that are not granted in many other places around the globe, there is still a stigma and rampant hatred of queer people in this country. I've always been curious as to why people are homophobic and transphobic. Many people cite religion as their reasons, but others simply believe that it is wrong because it's wrong. So what leads them to believe that queerness is wrong? Because high disgust sensitivity is associated with general political conservatism, this means that race and class are also factors that people use to discriminate. Understanding the underlying mechanisms of hatred is integral to dismantling systems of hate and moving towards an equitable, inclusive country. So what are the possible consequences of politics and disgust manifesting? As shown by Billingsley et al. 2018, sexual disgust can majorly affect election outcomes, meaning that policies that protect marginalized individuals may be rescinded by conservative leaders with enough support. A culture of homophobia can undermine efforts to build diverse and inclusive communities. It fosters an environment where individuals are not accepted for who they are, hindering the richness that diversity brings to society. Additionally, exposing children to hateful ideas can have significant negative effects on their cognitive development and worldview. Homophobia, racism, and classism classism contributes to social and economic disparities. Individuals of these communities may face obstacles in education, employment, and housing due to discrimination. This can result in economic disadvantages and limited opportunities for personal and professional growth. And if we look at consequences specifically in children, think about cognitive development. It can lead them to have a limited perspective. Hatred can limit a child's exposure to diverse perspectives and ideas, potentially inhibiting their cognitive development and critical thinking skills. It can make them closed-minded. They may be more susceptible to closed-mindedness, making it challenging them to embrace diversity. Behavioral consequences include bullying and harassment. Children who internalize hateful attitudes may be more likely to engage in bullying or harassing behaviors towards peers who are perceived as different. And a long-term impact is the transmission of hatred. Children who grow up in environments characterized by hatred may be at risk of perpetuating their negative attitudes. And lastly, low self-esteem. This would apply to people and children who are victims of prejudice. This can absolutely affect their self-esteem and make them think that they're not worthy. People who feel more sexual disgust more strongly are more likely to identify and vote conservative. That is the main takeaway from this. This means that policy decisions regarding marginalized communities are at risk of being made by personal preferences and aversions, not just with justice in mind. This matters to me because I study sustainability. I'm passionate about social justice and environmental justice. Policy decisions affect housing, education, employment, all of which are crucial factors in determining an individual's quality of life. A lot of sustainability action is unfortunately politics. It's very political. Ignoring politics in this day and age is not an option. Many decisions are life or death for marginalized people. If we can unpack the reasons behind hatred, I believe we can begin to work towards unlearning those attitudes and creating a cohesive society. Thank you for listening and watching my presentation. Here are my references, and that is all.